We all believe cults prey on the weak, right? Well, psychology tells a whole different thing. The profiles they target are surprisingly consistent and kind of scary, honestly. Have you ever been intrigued into the type of personality cults hire? Because I've been wondering that for a long time. And not only the, oh, would I fall for a cult? Would you fall for a cult? Would my mom fall for a cult? Well, I have a video on that. Hi babies, and welcome back to our channel. It's Paula, psychology student. Today's video is part 2 of the deep dive into cults series, where we dive into the psyche of different parts of a cult. In today's episode, we're gonna focus on the followers and the personalities cults look for. Because in the first video, I dived into the personality and the traits of the leader. The leader must have praise. Who are the praise? Turns out the praise are actually really nice people. I do have many of the traits that people who fall for cults have. And that surprised me. So without further ado, bitches, let's get into it. Why did I call you bitches? Oh my god. I'm sorry, I'm just over caffeinated. Here's the part that it's gonna be really hard to believe, and I honestly don't fully believe it. Not because it's not true, but because it is really hard to just say yes, because I share a lot of similarities with those people, and chances are you're also gonna share a lot of traits with them. Cults don't go for the broken, depressed people. They target the hopeful. People with ambition, empathy, and hardworking skills. Also, the more connections and cash you have, the better, because that's how they get rich. They are like parasites. They feed off of their followers. Because cults are not taking care of you, you are taking care of them. And I got that amazing phrase from a video I watched, link down below of all the sources I've used for this video. They target people who are optimistic and resilient and idealistic. Just bear in mind, like, it works as a business. You know, a business wants the people who are hardworking and optimistic and driven to believe in the values of the business and grow the business. Okay, it's the same, but in a cult. They target people who want to grow. That's why many cults are linked to self-improvement, enlightenment, and yoga. I don't know why I just said yoga, but it's true. But the cult works like a parasite. Its prime idea is to take admirable traits and just exploit them, because they are exploiters of people for their own benefit. Now I'm gonna explain to you the psychological profile of the people they want. Because may I remind you that they exploit good traits that benefit people. What I'm about to say, take it with a few grains of salt. But maybe the only tweaking you would do to your personality in this case would be to have more critical thinking when they're giving you the solution to all your problems. Because maybe if someone claims to have every answer to your life and the meaning and purpose and everything and all of that shit, maybe it's not true. Maybe they're just trying to sell you a bit of smoke. But those kind of people tend to have a lot of confidence and some sort of critical thinking, but because they tend to be highly educated, or at least have a good educational foundation. This is the type of personality. They know when to especially target them. Sometimes it's in recent life changes, job loss, heartbreak, divorce, moving to another place, having a mini existential crisis that it spirals into you losing yourself in a cult, or just simply craving meaning, which is very vulnerable and good, and it's something that everyone feels sometimes, this type of existential crisis of like, I need to find some sense of fulfillment, meaning, and drive into my life, because I know I have those skills to actually do something, but I don't know how or when. I need a why. And they give you the why. The thing is, there are better ways to give you the why. Like, humanistic psychology in the 20th century did a lot of research and theorized a lot on that. Think about like Maslow, Frank, Adler, they all played a big role in that. And I really encourage you to learn about their theories, because it's actually a good holistic way to just find some sort of meaning, and not only find, but to build. Also, like, existential philosophy is the one that came into my mind again. And different types of even religions can provide that answer to you, but it's not, they don't necessarily provide an answer, but they give you the tools to you find or build up your answer, which is completely different to a cult literally brainwashing you and instilling their ideals into your head. Cults really like play with the idea that most often than not people think they're special. Let's be honest, we all sometimes think that we are special, and not necessarily better than the rest, but just like a bit quirky, a bit special, a bit not like everyone. Or the miraculous calling of, I'm meant for something bigger than what I'm doing. And that's when cults come and prey on you. And also, the answer is not being a nihilist. All those traits are very human, very common. I felt them. You've probably felt them. Your mom, your best friend, your sister, your brother, your neighbor, your third grade history teacher. Like, everyone has felt those things. Just the right type of people at the right time. They really do have the target audience. It works like a freaking business. And then I'm gonna explain to you the psychological hooks they use to lure people in. How do people go from curious to committed? And the answer lies into the psychological traps they use. And the first one is linked to the love of my life, which, contrary to popular belief, is not coffee, but cognitive biases. Let's be honest, no cult advertises themselves as a cult. For instance, the cult NXIVM was known for being a self-improvement MLM business. Well, turns out, yeah, indeed, it was an MLM, but it had to do more with views. And FYI, this wasn't in like earliest 20th, 19th century. No. This was in the 2010s. They start recruiting people through small incentives or free classes, small favors, even lies by omission, which is not by chance, it is pure psychology. More specifically, the sunk cost bias, an error in our thinking, which explains why humans irrationally keep pursuing a cause just because they've already invested on it. More often than not, time and money. For instance, watering flowers. Picture you have a tree that you've been watering for, I don't know, a week, and you're given another tree, and the next day you're only given the chance to water one of the two trees. Of course you're gonna water the first tree. If you gotta sacrifice something, you're gonna sacrifice the unknown. Breaking out just feels like a failure. The cult is part of you. Then shame and isolation. If you question, you're told that you just don't get it. You're not evolved enough or enlightened enough. And this, of course, would make you feel guilty for just questioning and thinking, which would reinforce that, hey, you cannot even question it because we're a cult and cults don't let you think. And if you stop believing in the cult you're in, shame won't let you speak up, because there would be a cognitive dissonance. I want to believe that I'm good. You want to believe that you are good. Therefore, I don't want to believe I am crazy and dumb. People who get into cults, more often than not, are not dumb. But, you know, once you realize that, oh shit, I'm in a cult, you think you're dumb. You think there's something wrong with you. And you don't want to think that there's something wrong with you. And you don't want others to think that there's something wrong with you. Therefore, you just like, shut up and keep going for the shame. And also, if you get out, it's really hard for testimonials to speak up because it is shameful, it is sad, it is trauma, even most often than not. It is emotional and sometimes even physical trauma. 3, clones. Once you get into the cult, you start realizing that everyone around you is not only similar to you in values and thinking, but also on how you look and act. Because you're acting for a higher cause, which is a fancy, polished way of saying the ego of the leader. And this sense of wanting to find a higher self and finding meaning, as I've previously mentioned, it is safe to say that most fields like psychology, religion, philosophy, even like internet rhetoric, they're claiming similar things to just improve you and like enlighten you. The thing is, it is safe to say that most of these fields are not a cult. The issue arises in the beginning when it's really hard to decipher whether hey, get a free class on my course on how to become a better person. You have limited time to get there. Yes, play with scarcity, Brian, because it is really hard to actually decipher whether the self-help group is a club or a cult. No cult addresses their potential followers as, hey, do you want to be my slave? But hey, people in cults are portrayed to be really insecure. Why is it that when they first get into they are not, but we think that they are? Well, it's because they become, like, cults bring the worst out of people, seriously. Most of them don't join with low self-esteem. They just are transformed into people with low self-esteem because they lose the self of identity, agency, and they are made to believe a lie. And, you know, in the back of their heads, most of them know that there's something wrong, but social pressure plays a huge role in that. Because also followers think that they are never good enough. They could always be a higher rank and better, and they just want to please the leader because they think of them as not even a human, but like a deity. And why have I said all those things? It's because on the internet we have like modern versions of cults. In the last video I called them neo-cults because I had a lot of creativity that day. Creativity, that's also something that cults kill, and that's so sad because I truly believe that creativity is the engine of the world. Kudos to you if you're somewhat of a creative person, and if you're not, just build it up. I truly believe it's like a muscle. Maybe you're not trapped by a cult, but we've all fallen for some of those tactics. And I'm not saying that your favorite YouTuber, influencer, person on the internet is manipulating you, by no means. Maybe we should be a bit more wary of the information we're given. In the modern day, it's really easy to get to people and to target the people you want, because algorithms are made to do exactly that. Like, if you want to target really ambitious people who feel a bit lost because you want them to join your cult, you can easily do it with a few TikToks. It's easier than ever, and that's a problem. Please, guys, watch out when you're consuming. As always, I keep repeating myself, but it's genuinely something I truly believe in, and that is be very wary and think twice, and just be very mindful of what you're consuming. And whenever you're given a piece of information, especially on the internet, analyze it and think why. I think a lot of problems would be solved if people asked more why when given a piece of information. And psychologically speaking, it's good for you. You're training your brain. Because in an age where ChatGPT is all over the place, we think less than ever. Therefore, if we thought more when given a piece of information, we would counteract this a bit. That was a bit cringy, but yeah, we would counteract it. Because maybe it's not a classic cult, but where do you draw the line in between internet advice or cultish behavior? So well, guys, this was the second video on the series on how cults work. If you want to know the psychology of how to get out of the cult and the shame behind it, just comment down below, because I would be willing to extend this series. I believe there's a lot of aura of mystique in cults, and they are really interesting, and they are not talked about it enough, and it's a great example to talk about misinformation, manipulation, and all of those critical thinking things that are really interesting to me, and likely to you too. Feel free to comment, explain your experience, or if you've ever been in a cult. That would be really interesting. If you've ever been into a cult, you can literally send me an email. It would be really interested in your story, because yeah, this would also really help me with my uni. Were you expecting the answer I gave you? Because I had always thought cults preyed on the weak. So in case you haven't watched the previous video on the psychology of the cult leaders, you've got it right here. And if you've already watched it, you can click here for a playlist on more creepy stuff that I've dissected. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah, have a nice week.